Welcome to Keeping Up with Data. Keeping Up with Data is the podcast that keeps data enthusiasts up to speed with what is happening in the data world. We bring in the leading minds from the data industry to talk all things career, news, embarrassing stories, failures and successes.
So something really important for us here at Precision Sourcing is mental health. It's something we've been focused on a lot over the last year or so, and we're lucky enough to have partnered with the Black Dog Institute. And we're going to be doing a lot of events with them this year. A lot of our events, money will be going towards them. And they're out there aiming to create a mentally healthier world for everyone. So if you wish to support the cause, please donate via the link in the bio on this podcast, and you'll be seeing a lot more information about Black Dog over the next year. So welcome once again to Keeping Up with Data with me, Joel Robinstein, and this week,
James Ross, filling in for Emily Noda.
Fantastic. And we are joined by Rossana Bianchi. So Rossana, as always, please tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Rossana. You can probably tell from my accent, I'm Italian, and I moved to Australia almost 2 years ago. Perfect timing. And yeah, I live in Sydney, love Sydney. I've been working in the space of data and technology for the last 6 years or so, and being in consulting for 11 years.
Wow. So you moved into data. You didn't start in data.
Yeah, exactly.
Fantastic.
So I pivoted my kind of journey twice throughout my career, which is exciting, I guess.
Great.
Yeah, and I love data and technology, so I'm going to stay there for the rest of my life, I guess.
That's fantastic. Well, this is perfect for our podcast. We love to have the stories of people who maybe didn't start their careers in data. We've had a few people on like that. And I think a lot of the questions we get, James, as you know, is how do I get into the data world, right? So we'll cover that off. We'll do all the usual stuff around your best book, data joke, which I'm sure will be fantastic as it always is.
Of course.
Yep. James, you've got one to come in. Yep, good.
Got one.
Emily on the streets, and we'll finish with the zombie apocalypse as always. But let's start with that career path, if that's okay, Rossana,
sure.
because you mentioned there you've been 11 years in the world of work, but only 6 in data. So where did you start, and then how did you get there?
Yeah, so I started back in 2010. Don't do the math about my age. And
Same as me, so I know exactly.
And at that point, I was in Italy, my home country, and in Europe, we were experiencing this wave of financial scandals in the financial sector that look and feel very similar to what we are seeing here in Australia. And so when I left university, I thought I want to be in a space that is broad enough for me to have kind of, choice and see where I want to play. There is kind of a purpose in helping organizations complying with regulations and doing the right thing by the public and customers. And so I kind of picked the risk and compliance to start with, and then kind of went, let's see how it goes. And I've been in that space for 5 to 6 years. And then I realized in 2013 actually that I enjoyed being in that risk and compliance space, but I was too comfortable. And, as a consultant, you want to be challenged, you want to learn. And so I didn't really know where I wanted to take my career. And so I kind of felt I need a break, but I still want to work and learn. And at that time I was with EY, Ernst & Young in London, and they had this amazing program which is called Vantage. And so you can actually spend a couple of months in an emerging market, usually. In my case, it was South Africa, in Cape Town.
Brilliant.
And you work with entrepreneurs, but you are so far removed from your day-to-day, and the purpose is to basically put you outside your comfort zone, learn new things, etc. And I ended up working with this startup of 20 people, and the 2 founders had this vision that there are no smart or kind of stupid people. It's just a matter of how you learn and tailoring the learning experience. So they were kind of any learning platform, and they were using a combination of design techniques and technology to deliver basically engaging learning experiences, touching on soft skills but also technical skills.
Wow.
And yeah, I worked with them and it was amazing. I kind of touched the tech for good agenda. And in Cape Town and in South Africa, very few people have access to quality education. And even if you want to be a waitress or a personal assistant, so you don't necessarily need a university degree, it's actually very difficult for poorer people to get access to those soft skills to be ready for interviews.
I can imagine, yeah.
Their products were catered to kind of big clients, but they actually used that content also for pro bono. So they were making these modules accessible to not-for-profit organizations, schools, etc. And so it was really refreshing. And when I came back, I went, I want to work in technology, whatever that means.
Yeah.
And I was lucky enough, to work with people who saw my vision, who supported me. And then I moved internally to the Robotics and Artificial Intelligence team. And this is how I kind of started my journey. And initially was a little bit unsettling, being a risk and compliance specialist. moving into the world of technology and innovation. But I guess if you're passionate about something, you put the extra effort in. And I had an amazing team that kind of, was supporting me and coaching me as well. So, yeah.
There's a lot to unpack there. So we'll do that
Sorry.
slowly. No, that's great. That's an amazing journey. So the first thing I wanted to get into, so you were in risk and compliance. Your data knowledge would have been a certain level, surely, because risk and compliance is quite data heavy. But in terms of technologies, did you find that you really had to upskill quite quickly in tech, whether it be cloud, SQL, whatever it may be? Or have you found that actually in the kind of line of work you're in, the tech didn't matter as much as diving just straight into the world of data and consulting as such?
So I found the transition pretty easy in the sense that what I think you need to succeed in the world of data and technology to start with is having curiosity, because this world is changing. Like every month, every day, you have something new coming up. So the big kind of step for me was actually understanding how these technologies work, understanding the language around these technologies. Sometimes you are in the room with technical people and you go, okay, I understood 20% of what they said, but it's nothing complicated if you have actually educated yourself. So I actually took some training and kind of certifications around AI and robotics. And then I actually asked to be put on a project with robot developers and data scientists to learn from them. And that was, the combination of kind of self-learning and then hands-on experience on a project basically gave me the opportunity to then go, okay, now I can do this. I know how to do this. I understand it. And I think there is an advantage in coming from a place where you're not a tech person, because the clients that you sell these technologies to are not necessarily tech savvy. And so if you kind of present yourself as someone who has been through that same journey of learning, challenging, experiencing new things, etc., is something that resonates much better and creates kind of, a stronger relationship with the client as well. Or at least this is my experience.
Yeah, it's brilliant advice. I guess it's similar to us, James, in a way. We know what all the technology is.
Yeah, but don't understand it. Like, couldn't put me in front of a computer and I couldn't be a developer.
No,
but I know when you tell me about it.
Exactly. So what would you say the key aspects were for you? Was it having the right people around you that supported your move? Was it you specifically just having that curious mind? What were the key catalysts to make that transition?
I think, intellectual curiosity is definitely something that I feel it's important in your career and professional journey. In this world, it's really difficult to say, I studied this thing, I'm going to do this thing for the rest of my life. This is kind of the old consulting school. Yeah. And so for me, having that kind of, continuous learning attitude and understanding that even if you have, in my case, 11 years of experience, you're still a student, you're still learning, is really important. And yes, definitely people around me. I don't think I could have made it without having people who were willing to let me go, my home team, and people who wanted me from the other side of the kind of, the fence, although it was the same company. And also people spending time with me going, we see where your strengths are. We will help you translate these strengths in our world. Without coaching and support, I don't think you can make it anywhere. I love consulting because you work in teams. And so for me, that aspect was absolutely, critical in making my transition successful and also enjoyable.
Yeah, I think that's been the common theme through the podcasts that we've done so far is everyone who's sat here has said having the right people around you is more important than anything else so far. Yeah. If you don't have that, it's why I've been here 11 years at Precision. I was interviewing someone earlier and they said, why have you been here 11 years? I said, well, the people I work for, they give you the opportunities. They give you the opportunity to kind of be honest with them, like you were. Say, hey, you know what? I'm in this line of work, but I wouldn't mind getting into that. And if you've got the wrong manager, the wrong boss, they could be like, well, they're not engaged. Let's just move on from them, right? But obviously you had the right people to speak to, which is great.
Yeah, I've been very lucky.
Yeah, really lucky. And you went from Italy to London to South Africa to London to Australia?
Yeah.
Wow, okay. So why did you come to Australia in the end?
Love.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, that's funny.
It's a true love story, like a movie?
Yeah, we're getting married at some point.
Great.
So I just got engaged. So
congratulations.
It's kind of, news. So we met in London, and I knew that he was going to come back to Australia. He's from Sydney originally at some point, and then he fast tracked, and so I was like, well, I'll give it a go. Never been to Australia, never been to Sydney. what do I have to lose? If I
Yeah.
don't like it, I go back to London.
Yeah, fair
And here
enough.
I am 2 years after. But yeah, no, it has been kind of a leap of faith for me. I wouldn't say I'm a risk taker when it comes to my personal life. I like to have plan A, B, C. And in this case, I was like, well, I'm over 30. I have a strong career. Like, I'm happy about my career path. I like change. I've done it so many times. So I'll give it a go and see how it goes. So I don't know. Something happened in my brain, and my friends were like, "We can't recognize you." I was like, "Okay, fair enough." And yeah, so.
But it's worked
here I
out.
am.
So
Yeah.
good news all round. Okay, that's great. So we've got someone, James here. You've only ever been in Sydney, right?
Yeah, so I've only ever lived here like my whole life. We've lived like on the other side of Australia for a little bit, but
Did you?
never outside. For like 6-7 months in Perth, yeah.
Oh, okay. So not too long.
Not a big difference.
Do you think you'll ever leave?
No. I like taking risks, but I find it very hard because I built my life up here, and I don't know, for me it's mentally like quite hard to try and like throw it somewhere else.
It will almost be too much of a risk.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. So AI and robotics.
Yes.
What does that mean to you? Because it's words out there at the minute in the market that people just throw around, right?
Yeah.
So to you, where you are in your career and your role, what does that specifically mean?
So first thing, and this is kind of, I think it's very important when we approach technology, whatever we talk about, they are enablers to achieve an outcome. So sometimes you go into these conversations and you start with technology. And in my view, it's a much better conversation if you start with what is the strategy and the vision that you're trying to achieve, and how you bring people on that journey, and how these technologies can actually make people's life easier. I'm personally, from an ethical perspective, against using technology to replace people unless they want to be replaced.
Okay.
I'm doing this stuff is so boring. I would just love to have a machine doing it for me so that I can focus on something else. So I truly believe in the power of these technologies to augment our intelligence, but not to replace our intelligence.
Sure.
In terms of robotics, so I like to define robotics and AI as robotics is performing like a human. So any kind of rule-based task, like take this document from this folder and move it to this other folder, which is kind of, binary, is actually a prime candidate for robotics. So it's kind of the simpler kind of form of automation. And then artificial intelligence is basically mimicking human intelligence. So if you think about reading a document and identifying key information, or detecting objects and recognizing that is actually a tablet on the table, or being able to interact with you, so recognizing speech, but also accents, types of languages, translating those, all these capabilities are now powered by artificial intelligence. So for me, it's a kind of performing like a human and mimicking a human intelligence.
Brilliant.
Okay.
I love stuff like this, just as a side note. We got into this on a couple of other podcasts, more kind of like a Terminator sci-fi angle. So the simple question is, do you think we'll ever create an AI that is as intelligent or can function just like a human?
I don't think we can, and I'll tell you why. I think there is an element of empathy that we all have, and empathy is very unique to us, right? So the way we empathize with people, what resonates with us, what doesn't resonate with us, and it's part of us as people, like our background, our experiences, but also our culture. And I don't think that a machine can actually be exposed to that level of kind of experience to then translate that into empathy. And for me, empathy is a big part of intelligence. Because it's not just about doing something right? So it's about doing something right that in the context in which you are operating. So yeah, I don't think we will get there. And I personally don't think that we should get there.
No, I don't think we should either. It's far too scary. But what about if you trained the AI like a child? A child is born, do you think they're born with innate empathy in them, or do you think it can be learned, I guess?
Well, I think, children interact with you, right? So they kind of start developing a sense of awareness of what is going on around them, and then of course empathy is something which is more sophisticated and comes with age, etc. So I don't think you can train an AI like a child. Like you could take like one specific kid and kind of program the AI to have exactly the same types of experiences, but I don't think it would be able to actually feel
that last little leap.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about feeling. So
Sure.
Okay.
What do you reckon, James? Do you think you'll ever be able to do it? Would you want them to?
No.
Okay.
Because I was going to say off kind of throwing it a little bit back, but into like the AI and robotics side, like obviously a big topic at the moment, because I'm very into cars, is driverless cars. And then I guess what like would your views on something like that be? Because it again comes to the question more on the ethics side. Like obviously if you're driving a car and say there's like 1 duckling in front of you or 10 ducklings there, you're going to like mentally go for the one that saves more. Do you think, say with something like an automated car or driverless car, it'll get to that point with like AI and robotics?
That is actually a very good question, because it's in that camp specifically, there has been so much debate around how do you actually make sure that, that machine is not killing anyone, or anything.
I'm glad you chose ducklings. As well.
Yes. I don't know, to be honest. I think, I've been working in the space of ethics in artificial intelligence for the last 2 years, and there are so many unresolved questions. So I don't have the answer to your question. Otherwise, I would probably be a genius and have a Nobel Prize. But I think, and again, this is to my point earlier around, maybe we should be more careful and think about what we should automate, right? And that doesn't mean that, self-driving cars are not the future or not kind of a big enabler for us in terms of mobility. But maybe in some cases, you actually need to have a kind of human intervention and a level of control around the machine, because there is no empathy there. So you actually need a human to be in the loop in some circumstances. So.
Sure. We got into it a little bit 2 weeks ago with Salim around the driverless cars and whether having everyone in a driverless car is better. But then that one incident where there's a huge crash, everyone will kind of go off and blame it. But what if there's only one crash versus 50? And anyway, we won't get into that this week. So, speaking of children, I'm guessing maybe you don't have any as yet, but maybe you've got some in your family. We're going to do the explain like I'm 5 question, if that's okay. Okay. So imagine James is a 5-year-old, and you have to tell him exactly what you do, but like he's a 5-year-old.
Oh, geez,
how would you go about that?
Difficult. I actually tried a few times with my parents, and my dad gets it. My mom still is in her own world.
Because that's like one of the questions we were going to say. How many of your family actually get what you do? Yeah. So there we go.
So I think what I would say is I organize a big party, and I invite people who are very different, and I make sure that they all have fun, and that we actually come up with super crazy ideas, and we actually translate these ideas in something tangible. So I don't know if a 5-year-old will actually understand that, but that's kind of the thing that I would say, which, in my world means I work with techies, I work with business, they are different people, they speak different languages, I bring them together, and then we make the magic happen.
Sure, that makes sense. Can you explain, like on 5, what we do, James?
So you go and talk to people, find out what they like, go and talk to some other people and find out what they need, and then match them with the people that what they like and what the other people need.
It's pretty good. Yeah, I'll take that. Yeah, I reckon a 5-year-old would be close. I think yours.
Yeah, it's true. Sorry, I'm very bad at this.
That's okay. All right. So one of the things we know about you, Rossana, is that you push yourself out your comfort zone. So you get up on stage, you speak at events, you present at events, which is something that a lot of people within our industries struggle with. Mm-hmm. So let's start with the simple one of, is there any advice that you can give people as to why they should do it and why it's good to get up on that stage?
Yeah. So before I answer that, I'll just say I'm one of those people for which it is terrifying. So,
perfect.
But to my point, it's good to do it because you are outside your comfort zone. So the reason I do it, is twofold. So on one end, when I moved to Australia and I was asked to drive this area for the company I currently work for, I didn't have any network here, right? Like no one knew who I was. Probably no one knows who I am still today. But, I had to build my personal brand in this space. And so through these kind of interactions, etc., you get to know very interesting people, you get to share your views, it's incredibly stimulating, and you build your brand. But then there is a more kind of inspirational side to that, which is all the talks that I've been involved in. are catered around technology for good, responsible innovation, responsible artificial intelligence. And I feel that this is a topic where, just a few people are actually kind of focusing on at the moment. So it's always the same circle of people talking about this stuff. And so for me, we just need to kind of, go out there and explain what we're talking about in very simple terms, why it is important. And for me, when it comes to this type of agenda, everyone is actually responsible for making the organizations that are using these systems accountable for using them in the right way.
Yeah.
And so creating that awareness is actually empowering, citizens and people to go, oh, well, I didn't know about this. Let me read a little bit more. Let me think about how this app is actually tracking my movements. Let me check, which notifications I should receive or not, et cetera, et cetera. So for me, there is also a kind of a piece around making sure that people start kind of thinking about these things a little bit kind of more and also differently.
And the topics you talk about are really relevant because every data event we hold, whenever AI comes up, someone always asks about ethics. Should we be using it for X, Y, Z? So I think it's really important what you're doing. Have you got any funny stories or any terrifying experiences that you've had just to kind of, I guess, help people feel more comfortable with that big first leap getting on stage?
So, and then I'll answer also your original question around tips. So, so there was this kind of conference was organized by the Australian Business Students Association, which brings together business students from all Australian universities. And that was the first conference actually held in person in Sydney on a Saturday morning. And, when you get to, you get more confident in kind of, being part of panels and seminars, etc. Up until then, I always did these kind of panels discussions virtually. So I had a screen in front of me, even if I saw that there were between 30 and 100 people, I just see myself and I go with my flow, right? Or the people who are kind of interacting with me and sharing views or asking questions. And so I was like, okay, well, this is kind of an in-person type of conference. Well, I speak to clients, I do workshops, so it shouldn't be a big deal. And then I arrived at the establishment here in Sydney, and I was early, and I see this long queue of students, very professionally kind of, ready kind of to ask challenging questions. And I was terrified. I was like, oh my God, on a Saturday morning, I thought it was a more relaxed type of setting. It was very professional. The guys did an amazing job. And I was actually the first person to actually introduce the whole conference with my talk. And they had a stage, and I'm pretty short. You can't see, but I'm pretty short. And so I was just kind of, it was just a setting that I wasn't envisaging for that event. And I was actually shaking just 1 minute before going on stage.
Oh, wow.
And then I guess with anything, you go on stage, you are prepared, and you go, I was like, I've got this. I'll have fun. And it was a very good session.
Great.
People were engaged. They asked a lot of questions. They were very opinionated, which is great, when you see a kind of young audience actually not being afraid of asking questions, challenging you or kind of showing interest. And it was great experience for me, but I was terrified. Also because they were actually recording the whole session. So, you actually appreciate, okay, this is more than I thought, it's more professional than I thought. And for me, there are a couple of things that help me. First one is preparing. English is not my native language. And so especially if you have to speak in public, you have sometimes that kind of, pressure of delivering the message in the right way and being clear pronunciation. So for me, having your notes, helps. And then I kind of always try to tailor my communication to the type of audience that I have, right? So if I'm talking to someone who is very technical, I will try to be as technical as that person. Or if I'm talking to people who understand the topic but are not fully up to speed, then I'll try to simplify. And then I guess we're all humans, right? So I try to approach it as this is a conversation. It's not me lecturing someone. And that helps as well, just kind of putting things into the context of we're having a conversation. You are not interviewing me and I have to show that I know everything about this topic. It took me a while. Like if you look at some of the recordings, I can be pretty robotic when I go through it. So, it's a learning journey. But so
that's
I
super
think,
useful. So you're almost viewing it as, I'm not speaking to a crowd. You kind of take the crowd and put them down to one person.
Yeah.
I'm having a conversation with someone just like you would anywhere, at the pub or whatever it might be. That must help mentally rather than I'm not speaking to 300 people. I'm just having a conversation with someone. And
to me, I guess it goes without saying, you're talking about stuff that you're passionate about or that is part of your day-to-day job, and hopefully the two things collide.
Yeah.
And so, if you go with that fresh approach and you're passionate about something, I think people actually see it. So one of the great things that, happened in the room at that conference that I was mentioning before was I'm so passionate about technology that I think people could see that I was kind of, I believe in the power of technology. I believe in, us being on that journey together, etc. And that is great, when people actually feed on your energy, but also they give you that energy back.
Yeah, 100%. I always say to the team here, because we run a lot of events, and sometimes we have to get on stage or we get asked to speak at events about recruitment. And I'm like, if you get me on stage and ask me to talk about recruitment, I can do that because my job is what I do day to day. So it's like the same with you. You know your topic, right? So that should give you the confidence. If you ask me to speak about the life cycle of foxes or something, I have no idea, right? So just trusting in yourself that, you know what, I am good at what I do, and then you should be able to get through at least a minimal amount, right? Really good advice that I think that'll be really useful for a lot of people who find it completely terrifying.
Yeah.
Right? All right, so we're going to go into some of the funniest stuff. So we're going to do the data joke. I'm going to come to you first, James. So we do it in a way where we kind of take a mini vote who's got the funniest ones. I would say, looking at Andriana behind the camera there, that the guests are just up on Emily at the moment, maybe. I reckon maybe like 4-2 or 3-2, something like that. Ooh. So you're coming in for precision to bring us level here. And then,
so you ready?
Yeah. It's obligatory that you have to laugh to make him feel better.
It's required. How many programmers does it take to change a light bulb?
Don't know, James. How many does it take?
None. It's a hardware problem.
That's actually nice.
That's the best one yet. I'm gonna go straight. That's pretty good. Simple and effective. Good delivery as well.
Thank you. I've been practicing.
See, preparation, right? Okay.
Mine?
Yeah.
Mine is very bad. It's very dry humor, so please don't judge me, and apologies. I would bring the level down.
Okay, cool. No, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay, so data science motto. If you get it wrong the first time, just call it version 1.0.
That is really dry.
Super dry.
I'm going to give you the win, James. Win for precision. Still good, though.
Yeah.
I tried.
Yeah. Good delivery, too. Good dry delivery. All right, Emily on the streets. So this week is a great question, and I'm going to ask you first, Rossana. It's the Google question that we've asked a lot of people. And the question is, if you had the choice between either releasing your own Google search history to your entire office, or releasing the entire office's Google search history, but they know you did it, which one would you choose?
I love my privacy, but I think I value other people's privacy most. So yeah, I think I would be comfortable in releasing my Google search history.
Yeah, you're gonna follow the sword?
You could find interesting stuff about me.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I Google a lot, like cats and dogs. I have a Pomeranian, so I kind of into animals.
That's awesome.
And
I love dogs too.
So kind of all these kind of funny videos. Kind of I'm on it. And I love food, so I kind of usually look at new places to try in Sydney. And lately, I've been also trying to get back into fitness, so kind of looking at new things that I could try that, of course, I will never try, like pole dancing. Oh, yes, there is a studio just around the corner, and that never happens that I go and try.
You sign up for the free trial, and then...
Yeah, not even that.
Oh,
so
really?
I find it, I'm super excited for 5 minutes, and then I go, no, it's
and
fine.
then you realise that you could go for food.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Or I could actually spend my time with the dog, or watching videos of cats and dogs with my dog, and that's much better. So
that's a good idea. So I've got two questions on that. One, is it true with Pomeranians, if you shave them, the hair never grows back in that spot?
I have no idea.
Have you ever shaved your dog?
No.
Okay, so I just heard a story. One of our friends got some chewing gum stuck in their Pomeranian, and they were like, just shave it off, it'll grow back. And they had this patch forever of just... Yeah, I know, right? Super cute. Super cute, though, right? What's your favourite restaurant at the moment in Sydney?
I actually tried... I don't know if it's my favourite, but it was really good. Mexico.
Oh, yeah, just
yeah,
down the
yeah.
road, yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. We went for a birthday on a Saturday, and it was actually kind of different ambience. And I also like Bar M, which was Machiavelli in Rose Bay. Well, that is Italian, so it's an easy win. But
So
yeah,
you
it's
being
actually
Italian,
nice.
you're saying that's a really good Italian, then people should go
It's
there,
good.
right?
I went like 1 year ago, so I haven't
Okay.
tried it lately. But they also do kind of arts exhibitions now, some days a week. So I kind of like that type of experience where you have good food and then you can kind of, just look at a nice painting. I just like that type
Nice.
of setting. So.
As James, I love food, as James knows.
Yeah.
Maybe not so much your biggest thing in life.
I like it, but I'm
You
I'm
obviously
a
don't like it.
selective eater.
Yeah. You eat the same thing like all the time, so you can't enjoy food if you eat the same thing all
I
the
enjoy
time.
food, but like I know what I enjoy, so
Okay.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, fair
Yeah,
enough.
okay.
All right. Anyway, so back to Google search history. Emily on the street. So we've got 5 people, I believe, answered the question as always. How many of them do you think fell on the sword and, like you did, released their own? And how many do you think
Maybe 50-50.
50-50?
Like, okay, let's say
Yeah, I was-
3. Well, yes, 2.5.
2.5.
No. So I would say maybe 3 decided to release their own Google
Yeah.
search, and maybe 2 were like, no, I just want to kind of everyone to know
Cool. What about you,
my
James?
co-workers' secrets.
Yeah, right. What do you reckon?
I reckon 4 said other people's and 1 said their own.
Oh, okay.
Have faith in humanity.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty dark. Okay, well, let's find out.
Okay, this is a would you rather. Would you rather have your Google search history breached or to the office, or breach the entire office's Google search history, but they know it's you?
They can breach mine.
That's nice of you. Would you rather have your Google search history breached to the office, or breach your entire office's Google search history, but they know it was you?
I'm the risk manager, so I have to go with A, which is really horrifying.
Would you rather your entire Google search history breached to the office, or would you rather breach your entire office's Google search history, but everyone knows it's you?
Wow. I'd rather do the second one. I'd
The
breach all
latter.
my colleagues, yeah.
Would you rather have your entire Google search history breached to the office, or would you rather have breached all of their Google search history but they know it's you?
Indifferent.
Come on, you gotta give me one.
Second.
Yeah, that's a good answer. Would you rather have your entire Google search history breached to the office, or you breach everyone else's in the office and they know it's you?
Oh my God. I think I'd rather do it to them.
Yeah, that's what I want to hear. Everyone's been too nice.
Right, so humanity, not so good. 3
Yep,
people
you
released
win.
everyone else's. Yeah, James wins. The one in the middle is a good friend of mine. He was just
It
so
doesn't
sure.
count then.
No, it doesn't count. Yeah, it's a
Okay.
2-all. Okay, we'll say 2-all. However, I would, as I've said before on the podcast, would definitely release everyone else's search history in our office. 100%.
I'd release my own.
Would you?
Yeah, I don't feel like I've got anything to hide.
Oh, wow, okay.
And if I do, I don't remember it, so...
That's probably not a good thing then, because maybe there is something in there even you don't know about. We're a small office, though. I think it's different. You work in a big office, right? So there'd be someone you don't even know, and they'd be like, "Why did you ruin my life?" So I think a different thing. Right, great. Right, so I really like this question. It's quite difficult, but we're going to give it a go. If your job was made into a TV show, who would play you, and what TV show would it be like, or at least what genre?
Yeah. Do you know Westworld?
Oh, great show.
Yes.
Well, I say that. First season, incredible. Second season, solid. And then...
Yeah, the third, I haven't finished
Yeah,
that
there's
yet.
just no point.
I'm just can't be
Yeah.
in that kind of... Yeah, so let's say Westworld first season, to be very specific.
Cool.
And the reason why I think, my job... I mean, I would love my job to be, like that. But can get closer to that is that, in that setting, they are creating intelligent machines that look and feel like humans, and they are innovating, and they're creating kind of, amazing stuff. So that's why I kind of see kind of similarities between the two. And well, I would love to be played by Anthony Hopkins. I'm a big fan. I love him. He's a great actor. So I would love to be the super smart mind, behind the whole plan to take over humanity with intelligent machines and robots. But yeah, unfortunately, I'm not that smart. But, you can imagine. So I think that would be a good kind of TV show.
Yeah, nice. I'd watch
A
that.
good kind of, yeah.
I mean, I did watch that, but yeah. Still. What about you, Joe? You ever thought about that? Who would play you in a movie?
No. I'm really bad with actors' names as
Yeah,
well.
I'm putting you on the spot here as well.
I
So
know. Like, if it was described like our office or like our work, I would not show like the movie The Giver.
never seen it.
Oh, okay. How do I describe it? Basically, it's like kind of set in post-apocalyptic style, but in the United States, and they have set up communities that like they teach people a certain way, and everyone gets assigned a job, and then like this guy goes about like trying to. They have someone called the Giver who gets like the history of the world, but only one person gets that because obviously it's like quite intense, and he goes about sharing it because he wants everyone to know the knowledge, so you're not set in your own way.
Brilliant.
But I just thought giving.
Yeah, no, that's great. I like it. I've never seen it, so I wish I could comment. If I was going to say our office, I'd be like Parks and Rec. Have you ever watched Parks and
Oh
Rec?
yeah.
And I'm Ron Swanson.
Oh.
No, I want to be though.
You
Like,
want to be, but you're
yeah,
not.
I know I'm not.
You're more of a Leslie
but-
Knope.
Yeah, I am more of a Leslie Knope, but I would want Ron Swanson to be me. Because I feel like when I get older, I'm going to look like him. Have you ever watched it, Rossana? Okay, right. So, yeah, we're going off down the garden.
That's fine. You can
He's
continue
like
with-
my hero, this guy. Anyway, so,
He's the best.
yeah, don't worry about it. Right, okay. So, most embarrassing situation at work. Let's start with the fun stuff.
Well, okay. So I was on this call, and I swear I'm usually very, very careful, kind of microphone off, video off. I actually kind of, make an effort, conscious effort to check. And I was going to have this call with one of my colleagues who is, a superstar. He works with me on responsible artificial intelligence. It's great. And yeah, it was kind of, I started the meeting 5 minutes earlier, but I accidentally forgot to kind of just mute my microphone. And sometimes I sing while I work. So I was like, while you wait, I was kind of just singing an Italian song.
Oh, nice.
And all of a sudden, I kind of lost sight that it was actually kind of, it was in the meeting. So I checked. And yeah, I was like, Alex, are you there? And it was like, yeah. For how long have you been there? For the last 2 minutes. Okay. And then we just kind of started laughing, mainly because I'm not a very good singer. Daniel, my partner, describes me as kind of, your voice is like listening to 12 dying monkeys.
Oh,
so the poor Alex went through that experience for 2 minutes of his life. And he didn't want to interrupt me. So he actually told me, like, I was just listening to you and you were so happy singing it, and I didn't want to kind of, intrude. I was like, okay. So that was very funny.
I really wish you'd have recorded that.
Nah, well, I don't think you would want to listen
I
to
know,
it.
but then that would have been there forever, right? So
Yeah, but it was very kind of, we are good friends as well. So it was funny. We could make a laugh out of it. So if it was with a client, it would have been different.
Oh,
I
God,
guess.
yeah. That's that whole thing, dance like no one's watching. You were singing like no one was watching, right? So, yeah, fair enough.
But I wasn't on video, so at least you couldn't see
Okay.
me. Like,
And you were
waving my
giving it there,
hands
were
and kind of,
That's the best. I love it. Okay, great. Right. So some more work-related stuff. So we've been going through it a lot, James. Work culture, flexibility, all the rest of it. Let's get into that and how important it is. So how important now in the world that we're living in, let's keep it simple. How important is flexibility at work?
Yeah, very important. And I think, people define flexibility in different ways. Some people kind of, prefer to work around flexible hours. So as an example, they can start at 10 a.m. and finish kind of slightly later, etc. For me, I think especially post-pandemic, flexibility means spending less time working. I've always been someone very driven. So, I appreciate that, there is more to life than work. But, in consulting, you work long hours, etc. And I never saw that as something, that I didn't like or anything. Because if you are passionate about your job, you kind of, want to spend the extra hours. But, I feel maybe we're spending too much time at work, not just during the day, but also during the week. And I met someone a month ago when I was away in Queensland, and this person works for a smaller marketing company. And he was like, my company is experimenting 4 days a week. So we are actually paid full time, but we're working 4 days a week. And they're running a pilot to see how productivity changes, if, retention changes, etc. And I was like, that's a very interesting concept, because I feel that sometimes we're inefficient. Like, you go to the office on Friday, you're already burnt out, you're slower, you're doing admin stuff, you're also working, of course, and then at 3 p.m. you grab drinks with your colleagues, which is absolutely great. But maybe if we start being more efficient, we use more intelligent machines to do all this dull work that we don't want to do and we do on Fridays, or at least I do on Friday. Maybe we can actually be efficient, productive, happier, and just work 4 days a week and still being paid full time, because at the end of the day, we're delivering what we need to deliver, right? So yeah, I think for me, flexibility, one, is important. And I would love to see more companies actually experimenting with that concept of 3 days, it's your own time. 4 days you work and you are actually kind of, focused on what you're doing.
It's almost like we teed you up for this. You obviously don't know, but we work 4 days a week.
Oh, that's great.
And we are paid for 5.
Lucky you guys.
Yeah.
Can I join you? Do you need me? I can do anything. I'm flexible.
Well, maybe you could come in and automate all our bloody rubbish processes that we're trying to do. Myself and Jay, my colleague, sat down today. We're like, we need to analyse everything that we do in this business, and we need to automate as much as possible. Andriana and I spent an hour today trying to automate something that was a nightmare, but that's not the point. But James, tell all those questions that Rossana was asking about the 4-day week. Is it true?
Simple answer, yes. Because we started it last year due to the COVID situation, because I think the company was like, we don't want to lose anyone, so we'll do it as a very kind of preemptive approach. And I know what we saw from business space was productivity went through the roof, and I think that was everyone was new. I've only got till Thursday essentially. We still do a bit of work on the Friday, but you've only got till Thursday, so I have to get everything done. So I'll do what I need to do, make sure I get it done, so that I can enjoy my 3-day weekend, have 3 me days, and get what I need to. And speaking for myself, I'm spoiled. I can't ever go back to 5 days. It's very nice having, being able to be trusted and get all your work done, and have that time to then feel refreshed. You come back on the Monday and you're 100%, never feeling tired. You're always good to go. I think it is eventually very interesting way forward, and I'll be very interested to see how many more companies do it over the next few years, especially with working from home, because if you need to do work on the Friday, technology's there, you can do it, but it's the idea is that you've got 4 days to do your work, and that is ample time to do your work, because it also pushes you to drive yourself harder and make sure you hit what you need to, rather than, I've got time tomorrow, I'll do it.
And I think part of it is also trusting the people that you're working with.
That's exactly what I was going to say, yeah.
Buying into the vision of the company. I think, if you really want to make it work, you make it work for yourself, for your team, and for your company. It's kind of easy. You will work harder, 4 days.
We've got, that's what I'm Joel and our leadership team, they trust us to do that. So it's internal, it drives you to make sure you do what you need to, not to say, I'll do all this work and get to Thursday, I haven't done it, but it's 3-day weekend. It's you want to prove it.
You still, you're professionals, right? And if, say you as our client said, I could only meet you at 11 a.m. on the Friday. Okay, we do it, right? Because you're professional. It's honestly the best thing that's ever happened to me professionally this 4-day week. I spend more time with my wife, spend more time doing things that I want to do. I still keep it, kind of on call almost like a doctor. But look, we're in an outcome-based job. And similar to consulting, you've got a target, you're an outcome-based job. There's a small amount of population it works for, really simply. I think if we're going to move to that broadly across everything, it's much more complicated conversation. We're luckily in the white-collar kind of outcome-based job. But yeah, trust and just generally the best thing ever. Everyone should do it if they can, in my opinion. That's what the future of work should be. Right, talk about colleagues. Who's the most amazing colleague you've ever worked with, and why? Maybe you want to name names, maybe you don't.
So he's my mentor, and he's back in the UK, and his name is Aaron Mustafa. He's just amazing. So we met, I wasn't sitting in his team, but we were two of the very few people who would be around the office around 7:30 a.m. These very sad people kind of opening the gates of Ernst & Young in London. And I am an early morning person, so in consulting you are constantly meeting. So for me it was okay, between 7:30 and 9 I can get stuff done, and then I can leave at a decent time, go to the gym. So I love having my own time after work, rather than having kind of more relaxed morning. And we just kind of started chatting. He's a very senior partner, so sometimes we are intimidating, but he's actually very approachable. And we started chatting, and then I basically asked him whether he wanted to be my mentor, and he told me, let's try. We don't know each other that well, so let's see if it works. And since then, he has been my mentor, and it's great because he's he has an engineering background, so it's kind of very structured. And I am like, I have these 10,000 different ideas of things that I like and that I want to do. And so it's kind of, meeting these two worlds. And yeah, it's just been amazing. We're still in contact, every 2-3 weeks he checks on me, and vice versa. In London, they had it pretty bad for COVID. And yeah, it's just the type of person that you look at and you go, this is a super smart person, super humble. He genuinely cares about people, and is there for you despite kind of having, a crazy agenda and so many kind of global and international roles. And yeah, it's just kind of refreshing to see that type of leadership is great.
Another good piece of advice to go and get yourself a mentor, right? And not be scared to ask.
It took me a lot of time to find a mentor, because I think there is a difference around, in consulting, we have what we call performance managers, etc., and that is a formal role. But your mentor is someone that you trust, that you click with, and when you are in the same working environment, sometimes it's tricky because you might be unhappy, about something, about a team, and so if the person is mentoring you is in that same kind of business context, sometimes you might be afraid of being open. So you need to have that trust. And kind of, know that the person that you are speaking to is kind of looking at you not just as a co-worker, but as someone who needs help and needs advice and guidance. And, you need to intellectually respect that person. So I was very lucky to meet Errol, at 7:30 a.m. on the floor and have a chat with him. And then kind of we took it from there. But it took me a long time.
I can imagine.
A very long time.
So would you recommend a mentor? Because you didn't work directly with him.
I didn't work directly.
Yeah, is that better, do you think, in that sense?
I think so. You can find mentors that, who are in your same line of business, but I feel that creates a little bit of tension if you want to do something else. Some of the conversations that I had with Errol were around moving teams, how I would do it, etc., opening doors for me to other to experiment and do other things. So, it's a much easier conversation to have with someone who is removed from your team, and also from how you work, etc. So yeah, I think it's in my case it happened outside my team, but sometimes you find people that you work with and for that you absolutely love and respect, and these people become also your mentors. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think we could all say we've got Simon, Jill, and Rick internally, right? But I've had a couple external, and which I thought would be good mentors, and it just fizzled out, or something happened maybe where the fit wasn't quite right. It's very hard to find someone like you've got who you can stick with for that amount of time. So it's amazing that you've managed to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, it was like.
Yeah. Well, say luck, but you were there at 7:30, so other people weren't. So you make your own luck is something that we'd always say. Right. Couple more questions before we get into the final piece of the podcast. Everyone's been talking about how quickly the data market is changing. Mm-hmm. Do you agree? And if so, how is it changing in your world?
Well, first, of course. So yes, it is changing. And, in my world, when I started this journey to build the practice for KPMG around responsible innovation and artificial intelligence, very few people were talking about this topic, right? So, and now we're actually seeing a lot of momentum in the market, more organizations coming to us and kind of asking us to tell them more about what is ethics in data, what is ethics in artificial intelligence, what is ethics in digital in the broader sense. So I think now we are appreciating more the power of data, but also the dangers of data. And so in my world, I've actually seen kind of, that shift in mindset going, we have, this amount of data and we can do all exciting stuff, but should we do it or not? So, and that is kind of, the shift from can we to should we, which, is kind of, a motto when it comes to ethics, to summarize how you think about ethics. And it's really interesting because, I think you can combine the business play, i.e. I want to achieve a business outcome, with actually the societal play, i.e. you can still meet that business outcome, but also do something good for your users, customers, and the communities that you serve. So I see these two objectives as actually colliding and kind of going hand in hand, while some businesses are seeing these as two separate things, right?
Sure.
So it's really interesting to see how you can use data for something on top of, cutting costs, making profits, something that is actually more tangible for us as consumers and, people.
Oh, I love it. So one of the things with the world changing is the buzzwords. I'm going to ask you this as well. there any that you just hate?
Yeah, so this word has been around for a lot of time, so it's not a data-related word, which is leader and leadership. And the reason why, I use that word a lot, but as well. So, but I kind of feel we have too many leaders at this stage. Like, I've seen people feeling that they're leaders and entitled to be leaders just because they have a job role that is senior or kind of, infers that they're leaders. And to me, leadership is really coming bottom up. Is people recognizing you as someone reliable, someone that they trust, someone they can learn from, someone that they are happy to support, and someone that, they feel supported from. And unfortunately, at times being senior in terms of years of experience and a job title doesn't necessarily mean that you are a good leader.
So they're managers.
They're managers,
not leaders.
Exactly.
Which is funny because our boss Simon always says to me and Jay, "You're not managers, you're leaders." I'm like, "Whoa, like you said, you don't tell me whether I'm or not. It's whether James thinks I'm leading him somewhere or not, right?"
Yeah. And so it's one of these buzzwords, that I think we need to rethink the concept of leadership, and this has also something to do with diversity, not just gender diversity, but diversity of thinking in terms of leadership. And there is a very interesting talk by this professor who is Argentinian and he works at Harvard, and he wrote a book, and the title is really, really provocative, is "Why do we have so many male leaders and why are they so bad?" Something along these lines. So now, not picking on males, because my mentor is a man, and so I've learned a lot from my male colleagues as well. But what is actually calling out in the book is that our concept of leadership is stick to kind of values and behaviors that are not actually associated with good leadership. As an example, people with charisma are probably narcissists and egocentric, and that is not kind of something that you want to see in a leader, because leaders actually need to think about other people and empathize with other people and put other people before themselves, right? So it's really interesting to see the science behind that and how he's kind of bringing that to life with a very provocative kind of, opening line to his book and his talk. And it's really interesting. So Google it on YouTube. It's kind of an 8-minute TED talk. It's very funny, so you will laugh at although you're a man, you will laugh a lot.
I will,
but I think that is refreshing, right? Going, leadership is not about years of experience. A job title is actually an attitude, is actually having people following you, right?
Yeah, 100%. Well, anyone who's listened to the last 6 podcasts knows how much I love Scott Morrison and the likes of Donald Trump. And for that very reason, like you've just mentioned there. But we won't go. I promised myself I wouldn't.
Don't ask me anything about politics and Australian politics, please.
Cool, that's fine. No, I won't. I've actually I'm 32. I've never voted.
Really?
So I left England when I was 21, 3 years after the general election. So never voted in the UK because 18 is the age there, and I'm not a citizen here yet. I've passed my test this year, so I've been here nearly 11 years. So I've never voted here. I have really strong opinions, but I'm one of those annoying people who's actually never voted on my opinions.
You're not allowed to.
Yeah, I know. I would if I could, right? Buzzwords, James. Take me away from Scott Morrison. Eddie, you hate? I mean, we hear loads all the time in our job.
We do.
Surely there's got to be. You don't hate things, though. That's the thing. That's one of the things I noticed about you. You don't really hate.
It takes a lot, because hate's a strong word.
That you like less.
Yeah.
What should I say?
Or is there just so many that you can't even think of one specific
I
one?
agree with the leadership one, because I think some people use that when they shouldn't, and it's like they're more managers or they think they're entitled to it, which isn't necessarily because it's good to be seen in your career and you've achieved a lot, but some people don't want that, and they think they should go for that. So I do agree with that, what you were saying, but I'm trying to think of something else. I use it a lot, but I do hate. Or not hate. I dislike to a degree the kind of being able, I use it a lot about wearing numerous hats.
Oh, okay.
Because it's I think you can be an all-rounder is probably better. I like numerous hats. All-rounder to me sometimes sounds like, I don't know, it's just like you got a lot of skills, which is great, but why don't they should focus on a few areas where you're really good, and also got all these other supporting or secondary areas of interest or skills. I don't know. I think that's also maybe through. I think sometimes in school or something, it's all-rounder, you're good at this. But it's and it's just sort of to me, it's sort of grown up. It's I'm trying to think of the right word to say. A bit of a cop out, like, or like just a bit of a blanket kind of, not like a sweeping statement, but a blanket kind of thing, like, oh, you're an all-rounder, like.
No, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm trying to I can't think of the right words to say, but I think, because I do think there are many people out there who have a lot of skills and can wear a lot of hats. I think, to me, when I hear all-rounder, it's you really have to dig into that and
What
find
you're
out.
actually good at.
Yeah, like what are you good at and what else do you know? Because I think it's like, I could say I'm all-rounder in sport because when I grew up, I played all these different sports. I'm like an uncoordinated baby giraffe on ice. I can't do anything. But like I'm an all-rounder at sports according to like my teachers in school.
Got you. So you want to know what someone's actually good at. Stop telling me, I can do everything. Just tell me.
Tell me like you've done everything, but tell me what you want to do and what you can do really well.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. That's a really recruitery answer there, isn't it?
Yeah,
like, just
I know.
give me the answer. Stop telling me you can do everything. Okay, great. Right, my most important question on this podcast, zombie apocalypses. Okay, I reckon you're both going to be really good at this. One person has shown up in every single podcast's zombie apocalypse. I won't say who it is in case it doesn't show up this time, but I'm hoping he does. Right, I'm going to go to you first.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Can it be like fictional or then like non-fictional? Okay.
Yeah, fictional. So if you could choose anyone, fictional, non-fictional, that you would have as your three people in a zombie apocalypse, no Pomeranians
No.
or Daniels, they're in a bunker, they're safe.
Okay,
all right?
cool. As long as they're
Yeah, all right. This is like you've got to kind of get out there, you're in the apocalypse. Gonna go to you first, Rossana.
Okay. So the first one would be Elon Musk because I feel I wouldn't want to be on this planet. So if there is a zombie apocalypse, I would want to be on a rocket
yeah, you're gonna
ship
go to Mars.
and kind of go to Mars
That's
or somewhere
pretty
else.
smart.
Second one would be Microsoft CEO. So you didn't ask me like my favorite book, but I love him.
We're going to do the favorite book. Yeah,
cool.
that's a good point.
And I love him for many reasons, but I think I would be needing him because he's a very smart engineer. So with Elon Musk, I kind of just figured out Elon Musk is already on Mars or whatever planet we want to kind of go to. Already has machines in place. They're already producing water, oxygen, food. So we're covered. And then the third one would be, you don't know this person. Unfortunately, he passed away a few weeks ago, and his name is Battiato. He's an Italian singer, and he was in his 70s, and his music is just poetry. I grew up with that music because my parents were listening to it, and he was a philosopher and someone passionate about history, someone with depth of kind of experiences and culture and interests that was translating into his songs. And so I feel like, I would love to have him just kind of around me, just to have interesting chats, listening to his music, maybe come up with new songs, a little bit of creativity, just beyond kind of very smart people, engineering side of things. So yeah, these are my three picks.
Good choices, different choices to what we've had so far. James, you're up.
Very interesting around. I actually have like an artist in mind as well, because I was thinking the same thing. Like I want to have some sort of creativity or like someone to lighten the mood a little bit when you need. So lady called Gillian Banks, or her like artist name is Banks. She's a bit more of a niche singer, but like absolutely love her. For my friends that know me, she's tattooed on my ankle. There's a show called Queen of the South. I can't remember the actress name, but her name in the show is called Teresa Mendoza.
So you want the character?
Yeah, she's
cool.
like hardcore. Very good show. Highly recommend watching it, but I'd have her. And then as the third and final person, this is tough.
Firstly, you're the first person who's chosen women out of everyone. 3 men as well, Rossana, which is like everyone just seems to go for men. I don't know what it is, but first person who's chosen women, James, so that's awesome.
First ones that came to mind.
Yeah. Gonna have to push you.
I know, you really
are. This is
are.
a listening format.
We are. I'm gonna be cheeky and steal Elon Musk as well, because I do. That's a very good point about he'll be on a rocket, but he's also very like invested in a lot of things. So if there's a way off the planet, he'll have it.
Good answers. I think you're the first 2 people who've chosen music. So it's a good thing. I never thought about music, having someone there. I just figured, I've got the back catalogue, maybe some CDs, but CDs? Who listens to CDs anymore? What am I on about? All right, anyway. Right, book. You're right. I did not ask you your favourite book, which we are building a database of books, which Andriana's diligently been doing. What is your favourite book that's helped you the most?
Yeah, so, this is the book that I'm actually finishing up, so it's still work in progress, and it's the most recent one. So, and is It Refreshed by the Microsoft CEO. And the reason I love it is that it's the story of Microsoft and how they found their new purpose and kind of, make sure that they went through a transition and now they are, basically leaders in what they're doing. And it's overlaid with the story of Satya and Nadella. So it's kind of great to actually see this leader and super smart person opening up and kind of sharing with everyone things about his life that are actually quite personal, and he went through a lot of pain. Well, I won't spoil it for you, but I think the whole point of the book is finding a sense of purpose around what you do as a person and as a business leader, or an employee, a professional, and also empathy. And it's very well written, and yeah, it really resonated with me. And I was like,
Brilliant.
I want to know the guy. I like the guy. So I would probably meet
and
him
you're
at
going to
some
bring him
point.
to the apocalypse with you.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
You really like
so
him. Yeah.
I need to meet him just to kind of vet him and make sure that I'm kind of picking the right person, right?
Yeah, 100%. I can imagine. Brilliant. Okay, so final questions, really important. You as a leader, manager, whichever you consider yourself to be, why should people work for you and work in your team? What is it about you that sets you apart?
I'm fun. No, jokes apart.
But that's important, though. It
Yes.
is. Yeah.
So jokes apart, I think I bonded a lot in projects and teams where I was having fun, meaning we were working hard, but we also had that kind of ability to make fun out of, situations and just kind of, release the tension. And to have fun, I think you need to be smart, you need to have empathy, you need to kind of, speak a little bit the same language. There is a little bit of chemistry when it comes to having fun as a team. And so I think it's important, because especially, I've been in consulting, so I kind of, I relate to that industry. But we work so much under pressure and on such kind of big problems and with very senior stakeholders. And sometimes you just need to take a step back and be able to go, guys, it's just work, and have a laugh. And my first project in Italy was with an amazing team. I was the only girl, the only woman with like 6 months of experience in that team. And yeah, it was amazing. I was working 12 hours a day, but then I would come back home and just be happy.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So I think, you can work hard and have fun at the same time.
I say that here as well. Like, you work in a job, if you don't have fun, it must be so hard. Every night you go home, your head hits that pillow and you think, oh, I've got to go up the next day. So yeah, I really like your answer there. That's brilliant. And also thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you for
I've
having
really
me.
enjoyed it. It's been a great podcast because I've hardly asked any of my questions, and that's a good sign because it means we've gone off on tangents and we've had some fun, right? James, thank you for stepping in for Emily. Did you enjoy yourself?
I did, thank you. It's been fun. I hope to be back
Fantastic.
soon.
Good. I hope you're back soon too. Now, in 2 weeks, we're going back-to-back Italians. Florence La Carbona is coming on.
Nice.
So that'll be awesome. So I don't know why we're going for an Italian favourite in a minute. But join us for that. Otherwise, thank you for listening as always, and we'll see you next time.